What, buddy? Take your turn.
Yep, there we go. All right, cool. So we're live now. So like I said, if you want to, you can go on my Facebook page, hit share, and that will share it out once you hit it, and then click start watch party or something like that.
All right.
Cool. So what is up, everyone? Scott Brandt coming to you again with the weekly live stream for high school and beyond podcast. And so what I'm doing is just bringing different individuals on, having them share their experience and share what they've gone through with their journey, their career, and whatever direction that is. So one thing I do tell people is college isn't for everyone. And so the individual that we have on tonight is Gregg Sheldon, also 3G. And he is a big proponent in regards to the college route not being for everybody. And so we'll get his perspective, have him share that. And I don't hold anything back because honestly, what works for one person doesn't work for somebody else, and we can't fit people in a box that they may not fit into. And so anybody that's watching this right now, you can hit the share button, share that out, start a watch party, all that good stuff. But what I'll do is I'll have Gregg come on here, talk a little bit, and just kind of go through the normal aspects that we do with the live stream and whatnot. So, and I think Gregg's connection may be a little wonky right now because on my end it kind of freezes. So that is part of the technology piece here. So
yeah, that's true, Steve. Scott, yours is kind of frozen as well. I see myself all right, but you're frozen on here, but that's okay.
Yep. So we got Gregg right now. It looks like his technology is being a little wonky.
So
it keeps going in and out.
Yeah, is it all right here? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, so yours keeps going in and out. What you may want to do is you could jump on your phone and just hit the link. Yeah, okay. So that could be an issue where if you're using the computer, some wonkiness. So you may want to go and just jump on through your cell phone if you jump through Messenger and hit that link. Oh, it's mine. So actually, let me do this real quick. So there we go. So seems like it's running smooth now. We do have a couple of people that jumped on here, and it could be mine too. So you gotta love technology. We got Jasper giving a shout out, Triple G. We have Anthony Zarco with Triple G, and then we have another saying Anthony saying Gregg's screen is smooth, Scott's is rough and skipping. So why we're doing this, I may have to jump on through the phone, and so let me do that now. So if people are catching this and it's smooth on Gregg's end,
I can just jump in here.
Yeah, you're good.
For those of you guys that know me, I was a social worker turned automotive technician to follow my dream to become an auto shop teacher. And instead of going to work for a public school, I founded Auto Shop Vocational. Now, what I talk a lot about is that there's two schools of thoughts when it comes to learning and knowledge. There's experience-based learning and knowledge-based learning. The knowledge-based is you read it, hear it, see it, and that doesn't work for everybody. That didn't work well for me. That doesn't work well for, they say, up to 40% of people. And our high schools and colleges really focus on how well you memorize things and how well you can regurgitate it the next day or the following week. And a lot of our pathways, vocational trainings, whatever word you want to put on it, is really experience based. You can't learn how to, fix a clogged drain from a book. You can't learn how to wire a house from a book. You can't fix a car from a book. You can't cook from a book. I mean, they do have cooking. So that's pretty funny. So the big problem is that everybody for the last
I think we my end's working here. So we may have a little delay though. Gotta love technology.
Can
So I
everybody
think
hear me okay? Can
we're
everybody
good
hear
now.
me? How's everybody doing? Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, echo coming through. So actually, let me do this real quick. Let's see. Gotta love it. I think we're good now.
Yeah, you guys good? Can everybody hear us okay? I'll just go with no word is good word, right?
Oh, there we go. So I think we're good now because got, like I said, imperfect action. That's all we ever do here. So it's good. Let's go.
All right. So kind of going back to the knowledge-based versus experience-based learning, they say that 90% or 40% of people are experience-based learners, and those people never get the experience. They're always taught that, if you can't memorize or regurgitate information, I struggled with languages and vocabulary and other, memorization tasks in high school and in college. And so that's what you get rewarded for, is being able to memorize things, not being able to figure things out or collaborative problem solve with your friends. They don't give you tasks that you have to figure out in a group, which is really what life is about. When you have a problem, you go talk to your friends, and go talk to your people about how to fix those problems, especially with cars. For those of you that know, I'm a total car guy and petrol head, whatever you want to call us. And so that's really what it's about, is that you really need to learn how to figure out the problems yourself, and it's not just going and reading it from a book. You can't learn life skills through reading it from a book. So actually, that's kind of one way that Auto Shop Vocational has pivoted in this time, and we're developing a life skills course for automotive. We teach you how to jumpstart your car, change a spare tire, what your dash lights mean, how to check your oil, how to check the tire pressure in your car, things to keep with your car, and maintenance schedules. All of these things that very few people know, and they really need to have this information. If you own a car, you should know how to change a spare tire. You should know how to check your oil. This is all really important stuff. I know kids that didn't even know you had to change the oil in a car when they bought a car. And so that's like, to me, that's like automotive 101. But what I think is normal, and what I know is not what everybody knows. There's a lot of people that know a lot about accounting that I don't know anything about. There's a lot of people that know stuff about cooking that I don't know. But when it comes to cars, I'm a leading expert because people come in to ask me questions all the time. So that's really, I started off. I actually went to a boarding private school as a teenager, and I struggled to get B's and C's. It was really difficult. If I put in half the work that I did at that school, at a public school or a parochial school, I would have flown by with A's. And I'm very grateful that I did have that experience. Got a great education, and it's made me who I am today. And I was like the poor kid at the rich school, so that was really I'm fortunate for that. And I made a lot of great friends, and I still hang out with them and talk to them quite a bit. However, I had a different upbringing. I had a different high school experience than most people, and I'm fortunate to have had that. And it's not like 40 or 50 or 60 or 70% of the graduates from that school went to college. Everyone went to college, and I'm not the kind of I was forced into it. I probably would have gone into something different if I had gone to a regular public high school. However, that's what my parents are like: college, 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 and that's how everybody is these days. You go and you accrue. I think I accrued. I got some of college paid for, and I left with about $30,000 in student loans, and I paid $700 up until this past April. on student loans. I have a bachelor's degree and I went to automotive tech school. So that really, really drove up those costs. But I paid them off. I never missed a payment. I never bought a new car and I've never owned a house. I'm 40, never owned a house because I had student loans. You can't buy a house with $700 worth of student loans, especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna, So that's kind of what has led me to become an entrepreneur is, I don't want to go work for somebody. I don't want to go work for, the public school, which I actually did for a short time at Wasson High School for the Colorado Springs locals. That's one of the biggest high schools in the city. And they have turned and pivoted into being like 9 different charter schools, but it's still a D11 pathways program. And you can, so those D11 students can go there for automotive training. So I was their long-term substitute auto shop teacher, and I couldn't even bring in my own car to work on it. So to me, that's just like why I'm much, much happier that I decided to go and found my own school than go and work for a public school. So that's really
you look at it too, because it's one of those things that with the public school system that we have now, you look and the system's still set up as if our grandparents were going to school.
Sure.
And the interesting thing, I was listening to an audio, I think it was YouTube. This gentleman was talking about how the education system right now, with elementary to high school, the bell rings, you've got your teacher, but he called them the foreman as a joke. They line up in line, and it's all the same thing. And so when you talked about your experience, you were a social worker for a bit. So was that what you had originally gone to college for then, was social work, or what was the aspect for your college route?
So when I got there, I knew that I'm a Rotarian. I'm a part empath. I'm a giver. I want to teach people. I want to give people everything. People that know me know that that's true. I've even when I ran the school, they shut off my electricity in my house because I would give people my time and my students' time. So I knew that I was a giver, and I always liked the human mind, and so I went into psychology. I didn't really know where I was going to go from there, and so I went into I started as a life skills coach at an MR group home, and I made my way up from life skills coach to assistant manager, and then manager within just a couple of probably about a year or two living in Boston. And so then I realized it's just maintenance. Like, you're making sure the guys are fed, they're medicated, they've got food, like they've got clothes on their back, and so just like checking off a checklist. And that's not who I am. I want to see progression in people. I actually worked with a guy, he was new to the group home, and he wanted to go walk out in the community, and I had to teach him his phone number. It took me 3 months to teach him his phone number, every day going over it. And I want to see progression in people, and I want to help, And yes, am I helping them? Am I maintaining them? Absolutely. But I really realized that my mission on this big ball of dirt is to see progression and help people. So I moved actually back to Western Massachusetts and was a supervisor of a residence, and it was on a small campus where like the last step before juvie, and so the doors were locked going out, coming in but not going out, so the kids could run outside if they freaked out. We had to go, we would have to, if they were having a time, or I don't know what the PC term is for this, but they were having an issue, they could run out with staff would have to go after them and follow them, make sure they don't run on the road or anything, And so I had a lot more interaction with the kids, and I could help them progress more. And then I kind of maxed out what I could do with my bachelor's degree. I thought about going back for my master's in social work or something like that, but I really, getting your MSW is kind of become like a puppet master. You're a clinician at that point, and you're just kind of telling people what to do. And that's not who I am. I don't like telling people what to do. I want to, advise people as to what they should do. But I've loved cars my whole life. Whereas I was actually telling this story earlier today. When I was 8 years old, I had, have you guys ever played Zelda on the original Nintendo. You had to push the reset button and the power button at the same time, and so to get saved, right? For like the third time, I was so close to beating the game, and I didn't hit the reset button or whatever you want to call it, so it didn't save. So I took Nintendo, smashed it over my knee, and took apart my bike. Like the next 3 days, I was taking apart my bike, greasing things. Actually, greased the brakes too. That not a good idea. Don't ever grease brakes. Not a good idea. It doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started my whole, putting tools in my hand, figuring out how things worked, and then I was fortunate. My parents bought me a hobby grade RC car, where it's the kind where you have to put it together, and so I put it together in just a couple of days, and that was it. RC cars was my life until I got into mountain biking. And then I got my license, and I got into real cars or car stereos, modifying cars, motorcycles, some other things we'll mention another time. And then I started to have an addiction to something, and it was not a healthy addiction. So I got back into RC cars, and so it's kind of like there's a time and place for everything, as we all know. And so for any of you guys that know me, know that I'm a car guy, gearhead, and I have RC cars. I think Anthony was chimed in earlier. He and I've gone out racing RC cars before. We got to do that again, buddy. I got something for you this time. But so it's like you really just got to find what twirls your beanie and run with it. For me, it's automotive. I mean, actually, I think Scott, you saw me a couple weeks ago. I was gimping, and I had fallen off my motorcycle. I have a huge hole in my foot. It's gotten a little smaller, and it feels a little better, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
So
no, I did see that, and we had talked a little bit about like what equipment you were wearing and whatnot. You're like, I wasn't wearing motorcycle boots; I was just wearing regular shoes and whatnot. But yeah, no, I think it's unique because I've had the story where there was a student wanted to become an HVAC tech or electrician. He really loved to use his hands, figure out how things work and whatnot. But the parents were a doctor and a lawyer. And the sad thing about this is the parents had told the student, "Oh, you won't have a great life by going that route." And it's one of those concerning things when you hear that spoken by the parents to their kid, and destroying the dreams. And I'm like, this is why individuals end up losing their dreams, because it starts off at a very early age with either teachers or their parents. Usually those are the two big culprits, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And so for you, when you look at everything that you've gone through, where did it happen? Did you have the aspect where you kind of had your dreams crushed, or were you more having the support where people are like, no, go do it? Where were you in regard with that aspect of your journey?
So for me, I was working as a social worker. I was actually at Fenway Park with my father and one of his friends, and a very wise man, another man among men. I actually spoke with him this past weekend. He lives down in Georgia or West Virginia. I don't know, somewhere in that southeastern coastal region. And so I remember this vividly. I was like, hey, Lance, I really want to become an auto shop teacher. And he said, well, what's it going to take? Some time and some money? I was about 30 years old at the time. And I'm like, yeah, definitely some time and definitely some money. And so he's like, well, you're young, go for it, And so I searched as to what it takes to be a licensed auto shop teacher in Massachusetts, and you have to have 5 years of experience. You got to have some ASE certifications, which is automotive excellence, automotive service excellence, which is the governing body for automotive technicians, which is mostly for the people that come in to the repair shops. They're the ones that want to see that on the wall. The technicians and the managers know that doesn't really mean a whole lot. Anybody can pass the tests.
Yeah.
And there's no practical part of the ASE test. But anyways, that's a whole other story. And so I literally I was working at a Midas. Here I'm with a bachelor's degree and went to tech school, changing oil in the inner city of Springfield, Massachusetts, which I don't know if you've been to Massachusetts before, but you probably haven't been to Springfield. I can tell you that much. It's about 500,000 people. Large city in Western Mass. The Basketball Hall of Fame is there, and so and had just had it. I had, I broke down in somebody's car. I was working on a Saturday. Here I'm making like $10 or $12 an hour with my degrees, spending $700 a month in student loans, and you're bringing home $1,200 a month, and $700, 7 of that has to go to student loans. Come on, so there's got to be some kind of give there. So I applied to every Subaru dealership in a 1,500-mile radius of Massachusetts. So I had a little Subaru WRX that I had since I was a social worker, and I actually still have the car to this day. And I moved to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Within 2 weeks of applying, I sold most of my stuff, got out of the house that I was living in, and packed my way and moved over to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. I was there for 8 months, and it was year 2, 3 of my 5 years needed for experience, and so I was there for 8 miserable months. I don't know if you've been to Wisconsin. It's a cool place to go visit, but just like Boston, I would go back to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there again. Not for me. I'm sorry, And so then I moved to Colorado. I applied to every Subaru dealership in Colorado that was looking for a technician, and the one here in town picked me up. Worked there for a short time. Ethics were different between them and I, the way that I'll say that, as is most ethics between most big businesses. They just pinch pennies and do things that are maybe not necessarily in the best interest of the customer, but maybe in the best interest of their bank account. So then I worked for a couple other different places here. I worked at a group home here just to pick up some extra hours. I delivered pizza, which I love to drive, so that was fun. My little red race car, and especially in the snow. I even thought about doing it now with my little red car. It's put some snow tires on and go deliver for like DoorDash or something, make some extra money when it's snowing. Yeah. I got to get the heat working first, though.
Well, you look at that. That's an opportunity for networking too, though. You just never know by doing those odd jobs, whatever it may be, who you may come across in that relationship that you could potentially develop.
That's very true.
And then I was looking here. I've got an old coworker of mine, Charles Morris, giving a shout out. Good job. So I'm not exactly what part he gave the good job to you, but I know he chimed in here. So shout out to Sergeant Morris, Trell. But yeah, so no, I think it's one of those things in regards that we really have to make some shifts. We really have to make some changes in regards to kind of how we view things. I know there's some students that are D, C, F students and just not enjoying the school structure. And so if they could really tap in and find the people that they can work with and help tap into who they are, man, like it would be so different because like you had talked about the education piece. You can go through the book knowledge, but there's also learning from the experience of somebody else, hearing somebody talk, and just having the open mind and the open ears to really listen. But I think we have a hard time with that in regards with our society where people go into a situation, they're like, oh, I already know this. And then they shut off their mind and they don't catch the gold nugget that they may need. And so when you think about that and you look at students and kind of as kids being a social worker, you've had that experience working with the kids and whatnot. What would you suggest for parents that maybe have that hard time of connecting with their kid or having their kid open up and talk and really see who their kid is so they can potentially help them get to the point that they want to get to?
So there's a lot going on here. The first part of it is that parents today are always just trying to tell their kid what to do all the time. And I've seen the happiest kids where the parents are just like, don't want to wear a jacket outside today? It's 20 degrees outside. Don't wear a jacket. It's fine. Don't come crying to me when it's cold outside. I literally had this conversation with a friend of mine today. And so next time that kid's be like, oh, it's 20 degrees outside. I want to wear a jacket. You're not going to have to remind him. So always being on their case about like, do this, do that, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. Let them be there. Let them be their own person, and this is a part of it. For me, my father worked the same job for 40 years. That doesn't happen anymore. Like, I don't know anybody that's worked at the same job for more than 20 years. Back in my father's generation, the baby boomers, that happened with everybody. You know what I mean? And so that's part of their mentality, is that like, hey, go work for somebody, get your pension, pay into your 401k, do all these things. And it starts with education. And you kind of touched on this a few minutes ago, where everything in our community changes. Changes how, we don't get any progress without change. And what is one industry that hasn't changed at all? Education.
I can see that.
We still have kindergarten, K through 12, and they learn the same ridiculousness. Should a kid have to learn geometry if they want to? Should they have to learn how to change the tire in their car? Yeah, probably. But, they don't. But nobody teaches them that. And so that's why I call it the hipster automotive course. I really call it the pit stop workshop, but I call it automotive for hipsters. And so that's what that course is for. But so I totally agree with you, where like, the parents have to, give up some, let the kid be free and do what they want. And so the person I was talking to earlier today, Jackie Brown, she runs a dog grooming business, and she's actually just about to start one. She's about to get a new place up on Powers and Constitution, and so she was explaining to me that she lets her kids do what they want. Make sure they're safe. They're not hurting anyone. They're not hurting themselves or anybody else. But if you don't want to wear a jacket today, don't wear a freaking jacket. It's going to be cold, and you're going to learn. You'll be like, oh well, next time I want a jacket. You have to remind them and bitch at them every time, because now they're like, oh, I experienced that. Hey, I want to go get the mail with no shoes on with the snow on the ground. Okay, good luck. Have fun. Don't slip and fall and crack your head. And then they won't be doing that again. So that's really what it comes down to, is that letting the kids kind of do what they want. Let them learn. And my friend Jackie, when she was explaining, we were talking about this, she's like, when she had a baby, she held it in her arms for the first time, and she has all these thoughts of what she wants what she wants her boy or girl to do. And that's where that has to stay. Because once you start putting expectations on them, like you were talking about the doctor and the lawyer, the kid wanted to go work in HVAC, go let him work in HVAC. If he's a smart kid, he'll start learning it. He'll start his own business. He'll get other people. Then he just sits back and collects money. And he can make more money than both of his doctor lawyer parents would. And he can just sit back. He can be on vacation just collecting money if he starts a business and runs it right. By the time he's 40, he could be doing that.
It's true. No, it's very, very true. And I think that's where it's the paradigm shift. Really, as an individual, you've got to question the beliefs that have been really instilled into you, because those beliefs may not fit who you are. And so it's going back to, like, you'll hear, go to college, get a good paying job. But the issue that you're running into is you got people that have college degrees that aren't even using their college degree, and they're in some like minimum wage job. And man, it's tough. And then we have Ryan Britton here that made the comment, I want to drift. So I'm guessing that's a friend of yours, Greg, with that comment there.
Yeah, it was actually one of the students from Waston that I worked with. He and I didn't really get along at first, but then I think he came around, realized that I was a good guy, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with Ryan and some of the other guys. And actually, I did this race, I think it was in September, called the Rocky Mountain Rambler 500. It's a 300-mile race in a $500 car. So I made all the trophies, and they paid me $600-something bucks for that. They gave me a free entry. And while I was at Wasson, thanks Ryan for chiming in, one of the students, he saw me at a car show, I don't know, like a month or two before the race, and he was like, "Hey, you still looking for teammates?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was probably the best student. He was, he wasn't even the third year, because there was two classes of like newer students. Then the third students auto tech, or I forgot how they divided out. However, so I brought one of the students. He was my teammate. I let him drive a little bit. You know what I mean? It's the 200 horsepower rear wheel drive car in the dirt. But I like the car. But I didn't care about the car. If it was some, like Ford truck or something, I'd be like, yeah, sure, go bang it into a tree. We'll still be able to drive it. But
Yeah.
so he came and helped me prep the car. And it was awesome. So we just, there's a lot of fun in that. So to me, automotive is the trade to get into, because there's a whole car culture around it. There's all sorts of racing, drag racing, circle track racing, which isn't really my favorite, rally racing, road course racing, and all sorts of different, variations of those. But there's no like plumbing races.
Mm.
I've never seen an electrical race. They don't have
Yeah.
they don't have electrical shows. Be like, hey, come over to my house. Look at what a good job this guy did at my plumbing. But they have car shows where like, hey, look at this awesome thing that I built, or like just going and showing off your car. So to me, automotive is the best vocational, skills trade, blue collar trade, whatever you want to look at, however you want to say it, because there's a whole community around it. I've been in guys' weddings that I met at the race car track. Didn't attend. I was in a wedding of a guy that I met at the track, and it was toy cars. It was little RC cars. I used to race those. That's a whole other story. Although I do want to say one quick thing about RC cars. If you have a kid that you want to get into cars and they don't have a license yet, buy them a hobby grade RC car. Between 200 and, well, I mean, you can spend thousands. But we were talking a little bit about this earlier with Anthony, and Anthony's an affluent fellow who's got some pretty badass cars. He's got some badass RC cars. He probably still does. Actually, that's how we met. He sold me a bunch of RC cars, and so what a legitimate RC car, anywhere from age like I'd say 6 to 16 or beyond. It teaches them it teaches them responsibility. So if they drive the car into a tree, it's going to break. And then when it breaks, you buy the part and you fix it. So it teaches you how to put a tool in your hand and fix the part that's broken. Which is like the best thing you can do for a kid, teaching them how to fix something, teaching them to put a tool in their hand. You know what I mean? They learn a lot of tools in school, like math and reading and all that stuff, but that's not tangible. That's not experience-based learning. That's knowledge-based learning. Yes, should we need to learn? Should we need to know addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division? Great. Those? That's all the math you need. Have you used any math since that you learned after 4th grade? I really have.
No, I've had to take some more advanced classes and whatnot. That's the thing. It's like there are certain career fields out there that have to have those more advanced courses. So that's where you've really got to look and say, okay, what do I truly want to do? And so if you can cut down and say, okay, I don't need this, and put forth your full energy into what really matters to get you to where you need to go, man, that's a beautiful thing, because that's where you start getting that specialized knowledge and you start doing what you need to start shifting and changing and just expanding your mind. But it's, oh man, this is one thing that I laugh because I help people do holistic career and college planning if colleges are out. But I've told parents, I was like, sometimes college isn't for everybody. And I actually had a parent that got mad at me for saying that, because she assumed that I was saying that her son wasn't meant to go to college. I was like, I did not state it that way. I was just letting you know that college isn't for everybody. And so instead of trying to force your kid to go into college if that's not for them, because you got some parents that want to live vicariously through their kid. And so it's just sad what happens, because that's where, like we talked about, giving up your dreams, and you start living a lie. You start living a false life that doesn't fit who you are. And so, man, it's It's just one of those things that it's really, you got a lot of people that are very passionate on. Let's help just make decisions and help the kids make the most informed decision. But the other thing is we have to understand that every choice we make has consequences, good or bad. We don't know what that's going to be, but you have to understand you'll have consequences that you're going to face. I'm not the end all be all. It's more of, hey, here's guidance. You run with it if you want to.
True. And so one thing, another way that Auto Shop Vocational might pivot, and it will be a different organization, but I've talked to a bunch of my friends in the school system, and they're talking about pathways exploration. And for those that are not in the automotive or in the school industry, pathways are vocational trades. That's the new way of saying vocational is pathways. And so, is that true, or am I off?
No. It's very curious sometimes when they're like, let's change the name here. It's like, it's vocational stuff. Like, it's the trades. Are we trying to make it more friendly so people are like, oh, okay, it's not? I'm like, just call it how it is.
It's got a bad connotation to it. Just like so when I was in Massachusetts, I worked for a DMR, Department of Mental Retardation group home, but they don't call it that anymore because mental retardation has such a bad connotation to it. Do I call somebody a retard? No. Do I hear it in conversation a lot? Yes. But that's just the way it is, you know? And so you're going to vocational school. Oh no, you must not be very smart.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, actually, I think that the kids that go to vocational schools are actually very intelligent. They're just not tested in the ways that, you know, where their intelligence is. It's going back to the knowledge base versus experience based knowledge, where we're tested on knowledge based, you know, like vocabulary and spelling. I was horrible at that, absolutely horrible. But you come to me with a problem, you should tell me your car's making a funny noise. I can figure that out like nobody else. So when, you know, like when I was a kid, I could take one of my toy cars apart, blindfold myself, and put it back together like nobody else. But could I memorize how to spell the word character? I had to write out character 200 times one night. I remember this vividly. 200 times I spelled CHRACTER. And I was like, it still drives me nuts. It was 30 years later. I remember that, just, you know. And so, but I'm really good at figuring out math problems, you know, and I would always, you know, we would be in math in high school, and I would, you know, you have to show your work. If you don't show your work, you don't get full credit. I would show work in a different way. It wasn't the way that they taught me, but it's the way that I still got the right answer. So why are you marking me down because I got the right answer? You know, so I would always have arguments with my teachers about that, you know, and so it's just, everybody's different and they want you to just sit in a box. So that's why I truly believe that education needs a total revamping, you know, from kindergarten to fourth grade, just keep it the same. Maybe not a total revamping then, because we all got to learn how to read and write, and, you know, we got to know math. All that stuff is great. But from fifth grade to however long it is, maybe it's only 5 more years. And you know, you can teach somebody in 5 years when they want to learn. You know what I mean? So this pathways exploration is, I want to figure out some way to get all the vocational pathways, trades in front of students at the age of 5. Be like, ooh, that looks like fun. I'd like to work on cars. Then you go put them in a shop when they're 10 years old or 12 years old with something, you know, and have them spend a day in there. Or, you know, you have like 30 different vocations. You spend 15 minutes on each. So what's that? 7 hours, you know, 7.5 hours of time or however it is. And then the kid can pick like 3 of the ones that he likes. Or they can always go back and like look at other ones. But it's got to be all put together in one definitive spot. It can't just be one YouTube video, you know what I mean, where people are just, oh, I want to go and see what this is about. But have it all be concise in one spot where everybody can see what's going on. And so I've had a guy contact me. He wants to have like this big shop where he's got plumbing and HVAC and an automotive and culinary and all this stuff with like a mezzanine where kids can go and like walk around the top. I think that's a great idea, but I don't know what he's smoking. I'd like to try some, but because that's just not the way it's going to work. It's going to all be video these days. And the guy contacted me. He's like, "Would you put an automotive shop in there if I got the place?" I was like, "Anywhere that I can have a lift that I can do what I want in, I'm open for." Especially teaching and the curriculum that I've developed for the fundamentals course. But so I'm with you on that, man. I really think that we need a revamping of the last 8 years of because you can teach so much in that short time, but we teach so little. It's kind of like the government, building a bridge. How long does that take? 6 months? Well, for those of us that are in Colorado Springs, I-25 and Fillmore, how long did that take? Years. You know what I mean? To build something and to teach a kid, what do they learn every day? Maybe they get like one or two things out of every school day that they're going to learn. You teach them how to unplug a toilet, or how to shut the water off on a toilet. Give them real life skills.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I've got 2 daughters, and so the whole elementary school system, like that, they're getting report cards with letter grades. I think it started at 2nd grade. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, this is unnecessary stress, undue stress. It's like, let the kids at that age, especially, just let them be kids. Because I've seen it now because of the electronic schooling system that we got going on because of COVID, not being able to be in school. I've seen parents complain. They're like, I've got my student that's in 1st grade sitting in front of the screen from 8:30 till 3:30 in the afternoon. And that's not good for the mind of a child because that can start rewiring the brain and doing some crazy stuff that it's hard. And so I look at it, I'm like, yeah, something's got to adjust here. But hey, I'm only one person, but I think as long as we start creating that collaborative group and we come together and start voicing, we can do some big things. And that's the thing, I've talked to Patrick Murakami. We've talked about starting a business school for individuals in high school and going through the personal development, real life stuff, and really going that route. When we start that, I don't know, because we always have crazy ideas that are going off the wall and whatnot. So, but the crazy ideas are usually the ones that get done because nobody wants to go after them because it's like, this is too crazy. I can't do it. So, oh man, yeah, no, it's oh man.
I hear you on that one. I mean, who starts an automotive vocational school? I'm really trying to redo that industry where, because your options are community college or a post-secondary institute like Intelitech. I went to a place called Porter and Chester. They were initially nonprofits and now they're for-profits. And so they don't really care about the number, the quality of the education. They care about the number of students in the seats. Yeah. And that, to me, is not the way that education should be. There should be no profit in education because these, what do they call them? Investors, not angel investors, but they come up and buy these big corporations and try to squeeze money. Venture capitalists. Yeah. I try not to say that word because those are ugly people. Not always, but when they buy up a school like that and then try to squeeze as much money out of it, that's an ugly person. But in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that is, especially with higher education, just some of the stuff. Because the cost, because I was watching the video and the gentleman's talking about, he's like, you've got where a lot of jobs, the pay increases aren't keeping up with the cost of college. And the issue you have is a lot of the cost of college is these additional whatever they're giving the students. But you also have administrators too that their pay increase is increasing. And so it's crazy just how it's gotten so far out of hand. It's one of those things that like somebody's got to step in for higher education and be like, we've got to adjust this and whatnot. And then we had Danielle McCarthy that had a comment here. She's like, let's do the business school and personal development for high schoolers. I'm in it. And so that's one of the things you can see. There's people out there because last week when I had Garrett on the podcast, we were talking about, we're like, let's just go create a course and get into high schools and do the personal development but as an elective, because honestly, if we can change the mindset of the students and get them thinking differently and expand, we're going to be in a better trajectory as a society than what we have going on right now. Because a lot of this piece is a mindset piece, and the beliefs that people don't question. We got to question the beliefs, because if it's not suiting you, like, get it out of here. Do something different.
True. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And it kind of goes back to like how nothing's changed. You know, like we still have high school, and we still have it's been college, college, college. And there's starting to be a shift in that. You know, a lot of vocational programs in high schools have been cut due to budgets, because the hardest teaching you can do is experience-based learning. You know, knowledge-based learning is easy. You stand up in front of a class and you read from a freaking book, or you watch a movie, or you know what I mean. But experience-based learning, there is a liability there. You know, and so a lot of the schools have shut down their auto shops and their like electrical and plumbing and HVAC. You know, we're fortunate to still have 2, maybe 3 here in town. There's a really nice one in D49, and I actually met some students at a car show. They kind of just like they kind of like come and talk to me quickly, and then they're hooked. Like they won't leave me alone, and it's like it's awesome. I mean, it's good and bad. You know, there's pros and cons to everything. Because sometimes I would want to like go and talk to some adult people. You know what I mean? It's always, especially when you're a teacher, you want to like not have kids around all the time. But a lot of the kids that I've worked with are like, they're young adults, and they're intelligent. Not all of them. But I'm talking to you, Ryan. And I'm just kidding, buddy. And so like it's such a great thing that like people can see, like you can see the energy that they have about something that they're passionate in. You see high school kids, you could just like meandering around the hall. All right, I gotta go to this class. I don't want to go. Blah blah blah. But if you get them interested and you get them hooked in something like automotive, or get them passionate about something, even if it's not going to be their career, get them excited. If you can get somebody excited about something, you have them hooked. And when you can when you can grab people's attention and respect, you can teach them anything you want because they respect you. And I see that, as a teacher in the automotive class, some of the kids who their respect was, they didn't even know how to respect themselves. So getting their respect was impossible. But there were some other awesome kids like Ryan and some of his buddies. They were good kids. They didn't really know that yet, but they're getting there. So it's a really cool thing to see these kids like getting excited about things. And so that's where the pathways development is really something that I feel is really important.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting too, because when I talk to parents, and this is something else I've talked to business owners, so I bring this up. It really shocks me, and I'm like, what is going on here? But whatever. But like parents, it's I've talked to some parents, and I'm talking to the students, and I'm like, honestly, if your student has an idea about what they want to do, they need to go talk to somebody in that industry to really do the deep dive. And I had a parent that's like, oh, I've never even thought about that before. And I was like, man, like we got to shift some stuff here. We got to shake some stuff. But the other issue that we have, and now I'm blanking on what I was saying. So we had that aspect. I don't know. It'll come back to me and whatnot. But yeah, I blanked on the last piece. So
I think that I don't know what the revamping of education is going to look like. And I think we have the time to do it now because, I mean, the students, who knows what the face of education is going to look like after COVID, Yeah. I think that, going and having daddy-daughter days or, like, bring your student to work days is awesome. And I think that, like, there should be, people that you can trade with, you know what I mean? Like, so my kid would go to your kid's work for a day.
Yeah.
And, like, just experience different things and see what they like, see what interests them.
Yep.
And then once they're interested, maybe they do that at 12 or 14 years old. I don't know. Maybe get some school psychiatrists in here, can kind of see where that development stage is. I don't know that much about that. I'm a social worker, automotive technician, auto shop teacher, and now entrepreneur. So I have four different careers that I've worked on, and school psychologist is not one. I give them a lot of credit because they've got to deal with a lot of BS, and so getting them interested in something. That's really what it comes down to. Is if you're interested in it, you're going to learn about it. Like, I'm interested in carburetors right now because nobody knows how to do them. A, and B, that's like a voodoo box. There's all these different things that have to work properly, and no two of them are the same, which is the worst part. And so, I'm not proficient at that. That's one of the aspects of automotive that's now like obsolete mostly. I mean, I've got a few motorcycles that have some of my bikes have 4 carburetors on each, one for each cylinder, which is like a total freaking nightmare, man. I tell you what. And so, you get them interested in something. Like kids that are interested in cars are going to buy a car and go and start modifying it. Like we talked to Ryan and some of him and his buddies. They go out and mess around with cars all the time. I think that's freaking awesome. Yeah. But I also have to be like, don't do it on public roads. Make sure you're safe. Blah blah blah. But do I want to be out there blowing donuts in parking lots with them? Hell yeah, I do. You know what I mean? That's just fun for me. But I have to, I gotta be the teacher and the authoritative figure. You know what I mean? But for those of you that know me, know that that's not really the role I want to play. But I have to. When I would do when I have to. So that's really it. Is get them excited about something. That's really what education is about for me. And like even going to college. Ooh, I was excited to go to college because like I'm not gonna live with my parents. I can do whatever I want and I get paid. Ooh, sweet. Yeah. Like that was awesome. I was excited about that, but I didn't know what I wanted to do or where I was going to go with things. I'm very happy for my path. I don't think I would have changed anything. I've got a lot of I've always had that entrepreneur spirit. I have a couple different revenue streams. I actually just had a 14 or 15-year-old girl come over today with her family to learn how to weld because she's a real artist type. And she wants to learn. So I gave her like 45 minutes to an hour worth of welding. She can lay down a pretty good bead now. I don't know if I'm a good teacher or she's a good student or maybe a little bit of both. Yeah. And so she was excited and she's like, can I come back here? She's excited about learning something. Yeah. Oh my God. And then so school, there's no excitement there. They don't make things exciting. There are some teachers that make it exciting. And those are the ones those are the ones you never forget. I like to say that nobody ever forgets their auto shop teacher. I never personally had one because at prep school, they don't have auto shop. Let me tell you, because they're like, you want to work with your hands? You got to go down the road to the voc school, the vocational, the pathways school. You're one of those mongoloids. You got to go down there, But that's what I love to do, That's how I learn, And so I've taken both aspects, like the auto shop teacher, the social worker, and automotive technician. I blended them in to be exactly what I want, My father was like, he didn't really get it. He didn't understand like what I was doing, like when I was on this path, because I was 30 when I was talking to Lance at that Fenway, and I bet my father would curse Lance if he knew that I told him this. Or he told me that to go after it, man. You love what you do, what you love, and you never work a day in your life. A lot of us entrepreneurs know that. I do a little bit of work, but I love what I do. I was out there welding, teaching a kid how to weld. I'm going to do a couple automotive repairs, make $600-700 in like 5 or 6 hours this week, and that'll pay my bills. So I only got, and actually, I have a young 33-year-old guy that wants to become an automotive technician. He comes over on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He does all the work. I just tell him what to do, and he doesn't pay me. I don't pay him until I don't have to coach him at all. And so then I collect the money. So I'm not even doing the return on the wrenches. I'm going to make $700-800 in a couple hours this week by helping somebody out and learn how to turn wrenches, save some people some money, as opposed to going to the repair shop. And so I kind of say I've learned that my true title is automotive coach. If you want to learn if you want to get into racing, come talk to me. I know the people to go talk to. You want to get sponsored? I know a little bit about that. And you want to go work on a race team. You want to go work for Dodge. You want to go work for at an independent shop. You want to do paint and body. You want to do modifications. I know all the guys in town that do these different things that I can go send you to. Be like, hey, go talk to if you want to do modifications, making cars fast. Go talk to Under Pressure or Under Pressure Performance. Go talk to CK and Ben. Ben's actually the cool dude there, and so that's really what it comes down to. Is that like you got to figure out what you like? The kids have to figure out what they like, and it starts with the parents not having expectations for their kids. And I don't have any kids, so what do I know about that? Nothing, something, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But
well, you got your experience though. You've got the social worker side, so you've worked with kids.
I have helped raise lots of other people's kids. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. You've had the experience, so don't sell yourself short. But yeah, like raising kids, it's not conducive to tell somebody that has own kids and say this is how you should raise your kids, and they look at you crazy because you don't have your own kids.
Right. And so I just believe that like let them do what they want. Don't set. There's a time for yelling at people and so we have a collaborative problem solving. This is something I learned in the social work field. You have 3 plans. Plan A is adult will, which is, can I go play in the street? No, you can't go play in the street. That's crazy. You're going to get hit by a freaking car. Plan C we'll talk about, or Plan B we'll talk about in a second. And Plan C is child will. Can I go to the bathroom? Absolutely. Go to the bathroom. So whenever you're asked a question, use Plan A, adult will, Plan B, which is, hey, can we go to the movies every Tuesday night for movie night? It's $5. We can if you get all your chores done, your room is clean, you picked up after dinner, and maybe you do one other chore. Then we can go to the movies every Tuesday night. So it's like a mix of Plan A and Plan C, which is Plan B. And so like every question, every request that you get from a kid can go to any one of the 3. Can I go play on the street, or can I juggle with these knives? No, you can't. Unless you're really good at juggling and you think you're ready to step up, maybe. But, you know what I mean? And so that's really what it comes down to for me, is that I see the happiest families and the happiest kids where like they're able to do what they want, and the parents don't have the expectation of like, oh, my kid's going to go be a doctor.
Yeah.
Kid's not going to want to be a doctor just because you want them to do that. You know what I mean? So I want them to do what they want. And obviously there's a limit for that, but if they want to have, what was that Big Daddy movie where the kid just wants to eat ketchup
I believe so. Yeah.
I want 20 packets of ketchup. All right, kiddo, here you freaking go. You're not going to do that again because you're going to have a bellyache. You're probably going to puke. And after the 3rd packet, you're probably going to get sick of it. So,
well, that's unique too when you think about that. That's the life experience. That's allowing the kid to really experience what's going on, have that connection within their brain and everything that's taking place, and they'll be like, yeah, last time this happened was not good. And so it's hard because like as an adult, if you're like, don't do that, they'll be like, oh, like it's hard for that connection. So sometimes you got to let the kid make the mistake. You got to let them go experience it. You got to be mindful. Yeah. So underage drinking would not be conducive because you don't want them going out there and making a mess and all that stuff. But other things, you've got to let them experience and whatnot.
Yeah, it's true. And so that really becomes part of it for me, is that, like people ask me, like, oh, can I go do this? I'm like, yeah, why can't you? What's holding you back? Just like my dad's buddy Lance. He's like, what's it going to cost you to go follow your dreams? Some time and some money? Mm-hmm. Is it what my father would have picked for me? Probably not. But like I said, he was here. He didn't get it. I've been on this journey for a better part of a decade, and he was out here for I think it was my first graduation for auto shop vocational down at Johnny Martin's. For those of you that ever attended Johnny Martin's, God, I missed that place. And so he got up and spoke for a minute, and it was more about his understanding of what I've wanted for so long, because he doesn't have that entrepreneurial mindset. He's like, go work a job for 40 years, collect your pension, you pay in your 401k, because that all worked well for him. It doesn't work well for everybody. And no, you don't work the same job for 40 years anymore, like we talked about. And like that's what he wants. That's what he wanted for me. And it's just not who I am, And I'm grateful that he saw what I was, he was able to come out here and like experience the graduation so that he could really see like that's what excites me. That, you know, like teaching and progressing people is what excites me. So that's why I learned that, and that's why I went into this, is because like I said, I could have gone to get back to school to get my master's and just been a puppet master and telling people what to do all the time. But that's not what excites me. What excites me is seeing people progress, you know, and molding people into what they want to be. I'm not going to mold them into what I want to be, because then that's not really, you know, then you're just a, you know, another, you know, somebody telling them what to do. For me, it's molding them and kind of be like, so this is what you want to do. Okay, go talk to these people. Go to these couple of things. When you have some more questions, come see me. You know, and that's really what it comes down to for me, is just teaching. You know, I do that in all realms of life. You want to do automotive. You know, you want to do entrepreneurial stuff. I've often thought about doing some kind of coaching, but like life or you know, like business coaches. But there's so many coaches out there. I would like to stay as an automotive coach, because I just want to see people. You have an interest in racing? Go. Hey, I'll come take you to every race that I go to. You know, just like taking Ivan, the young student that I did to that race. He was like, that was probably the best weekend of my life. 17-year-old kid. You know, he happened to ask. Luckily, he just happened to see me at a thing, and he had the gall to be like, "Hey, do you still need some teammates? Because if you don't ask for anything, you don't get anything." You know, like that's really what life is. Nobody's going to hand me a vocational school. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to hand me, you know, a car part art website that's going to make thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Nobody's going to do that. You have to do it. You have to ask. And so make bold requests of people. What's the worst that's going to happen? Is if people say no? So we were talking about that Rocky Mountain Rambler race. So they paid me to make the trophies. They gave me a free entry, and I was talking to my friend Yolanda Garcia. She's also my insurance agent. You know Yolanda? Mm-hmm. From Farmers, awesome person. So I was talking to her, getting insurance on my race car, and I was like, "Hey, I'd like a gas sponsor for my race this week. It's $100. We've got a fan fest on Friday. I'll give out a bunch of your swag. You know what I mean? And I'll talk you up." And she's just like, hands me a check. And so she gave me these rally bells, like a little cowbell, and water bottles. And it was with both things with her name on it. They were perfect. I didn't realize it at the time, because the rally bells, she gave me probably like 2 dozen of them. So when we saw each other on the road, we'd like ring it, you know, like ring them, just keep ringing them. And we do it like when we started. And like, that's the big thing with rally racing. And then the water bottles, the rule was you couldn't bring any adult beverages of your own. And so the water bottles were perfect for that, because you could drink out of the water bottles and nobody knew what the hell you were doing. So it was really perfect. Like, it was just, you make bold requests to people. What's the worst she's going to do? Say no? Do you think she's going to stop being my friend because I asked her to sponsor me for $100? I could have probably asked for her for $500, and she'd been like, okay, here you go.
But that's, you look at it, people have the fear of the rejection piece. So I'm not going to ask, because it's going to be easier for me that I'm not going to be rejected. But it's like, no, just go ask, because the worst answer is no. But if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
You miss 100% of the balls you don't swing at, man. Yeah. And we could have an X-rated conversation about this sometime, because I've made some bold requests at the bar, and you can get whatever you want.
So we do have a couple comments here. People have been watching this, and they're like, why has this comment been on the screen for quite a while? So Amy Osborne made a comment. She said, high schools are broken. Not everyone is college bound. And that's one of the big pushes that I have with individuals, even though I do holistic career and college planning, because not every student fits in that realm. So instead of fitting them in a box that they don't fit in, let's help them make the most informed decision for who they are as an individual. So I'm not over here favoring Amy's comment. It was just I highlighted it and we were having the discussion. So and then Danielle said that middle school.
Amy, I love you. I was leaving it up there just for you, because you're an awesome person too.
Danielle said middle school, 6th through 8th grade would be the ideal age to do exploration. And that's one of those things that, if college is the route, you'll have some 8th graders that are proficient that can start going down that route. What we tell people, though, is if college is the route for the students, ninth grade, you want to start as early as a ninth grader. And so think about that. That's a lot of time prep work. But the other thing I brought up is with high school guidance counselors, and they have so much on their plate. They are overworked and underpaid. The sad stat the last I had seen was high school guidance counselors will spend on average 8 minutes per student every year. So think about that. That's 32 minutes over 4 years. And I've seen some school districts that it's a revolving door. High school guidance counselors are changing constantly sometimes. So it's like, that's not going to do well for the students. So, yeah. And then we had Amy here. What prep school did you go to? So that's the question directed to you, Greg.
Well, I started off at a school called Suffield Academy. It's in Suffield, Connecticut. You see those prep schools in Connecticut, like on TVs and movies, and that's exactly what it was. We had classes. We had. I was a day student. We had boarders from all over the world, and they were just the rich kids. You know what I mean? My friends were. I grew up in a town called Westfield, Mass, a couple towns away from Suffield. So my friends were like all the day students. We were like the average kids at a wealthy school. I was fortunate enough where when my grandparents passed away, my father, my sister and I both went to prep school. My mother got a new kitchen, and my father bought a 1991 Toyota MR2, which my mother still has. That's my summer car. When I go home for the summer, I get to drive that car around, which is awesome. Last time I had to put a new clutch slave cylinder in it, which is, you know anything about MR2s, the engine's in the back, and so you have to go over the top of the back of the car and underneath the car to work on it. And so I started off at Suffield Academy, and then I went to a school called McDuffie, and that was in Massachusetts. They actually moved from inner city of Springfield, Mass, to Granby out in the sticks a little further out. And so it was a great experience. I learned a lot. It was not necessarily the right school for me, but everything happens in life for a reason. I got a great education. I'm an intelligent individual, as far as I see it. Not everybody else sees it that way, but so it was a good experience.
And then Amy has a couple other ones. She said, thanks for your comment that you had given her. And then she also says, you're the best, 3G. So
we are the best. Whenever people give me compliments like that a lot, and so I've kind of become numb to it. And so usually when people say that, I'll be like, oh, you're awesome. No, I'm like, we are awesome. Scott, you're awesome. Amy, you're awesome. Danielle, you're awesome. Like all the people that are like, it's I can't be awesome by myself. Mm-hmm. It's not possible. It's the people that you surround yourself with. Yep. And I've done a lot of personal development this year. Spent several $1,000s on a class where it kind of like cleans out the cobwebs and like kind of like gets everything out of your head where especially the first thing you can do if you haven't read it is read the 4 agreements and live by that. That really is a really important important skills or agreements that you make with yourself and the people around you. I actually sent that book to my mother for Mother's Day, and she called me a couple of weeks later. She was at the DMV and she messed up her appointment, but it was still during COVID, so you had to have an appointment even back in Massachusetts. And she was like yelling at the guard about like, no, I have my appointment today. It's got to be today. Blah blah blah. I got to drive this car. It was to put the MR2 on the road, and she's like, I have to go. I got to drive it this weekend. She's getting all mad, and she's like taking it personally. And she told me, and she thought about the agreement. She's just like, why am I getting myself all worked up over this? I'm not going to accomplish anything. The security or cop or whatever it is isn't going to let me in. So I'm getting myself worked up over something that I have no control over. And then she called me and was just like, that works. So it was actually pretty good. So anybody that's listening, if you haven't read the 4 agreements, give it a whirl. Live by them. So.
And I have to. So that's one thing too. Garrett and I had talked about is students really need to get into reading. And Garrett brought up the fact, he's like, if you say you don't like reading or it's not your favorite activity, it's something that you've got to adjust. Because reading books, you're learning from somebody else. You're cutting down your learning curve. So you've really got to read. But the one thing that is very impressive here is you went through and did the college route, and then you were gonna look at going for the master's, but you're like, that's not for me. So let me switch, let me pivot, do what's really passionate for myself. So that's one thing that both you and Garrett from last week went through that experience. And so it's just seeing it. And so that's the thing. Like, we got to understand, like, everybody's path's different. And so it's looking and hearing the experience, but understanding that what one person does may not, or what they say may not fit you. And so don't like take it for gospel. Don't elevate these people and say, hey, have these expectations, because I tell people, I'm like, if you have expectations for people, it's predetermined resentments, because we're all human. And so we all have to be on the same level playing field. Don't be elevating people higher than you, because that doesn't do anything for you as an individual. So we got to adjust that. And then I had a couple comments here. Amy Osborne said, wow, I never would have guessed that about you. So
Amy, what aspect where what is it that you would have never guessed about me?
I think the comment aspect that you were talking about in regards with that's the one I'm thinking is becoming numb and then saying, hey, we're all great. Wow, you're doing great. We're all great. I think that's what she had made that comment with. And then
something that's changed over me. Sorry, my light fell on me. I go grab this, fix that a little bit. It's pretty dark in my room here. Hopefully you guys don't mind. My mother actually did this painting over here, and then this painting was in a garage that I rented. And I'm from Massachusetts. So I love the water and the ocean and stuff.
And then we got a couple others. David Callahan, looks like a buddy of yours. Did you ever think about me peeling you like a grape? I had the wrong. So he made 3 comments here. So I don't know about this. What's going on here? So I guess it's an inside joke or something.
He was a guy I raced RC cars with back in Connecticut, and like peeling somebody is like just like walking away from them in the when you're racing. So you peel them off, Like, so and he and I were pretty competitive, and we both see things in a very similar light. Although unfortunately he still lives in Connecticut, which when there's lots of rules and regulations and stuff like that. Dave, I miss those guys all the time. I see RC Madness. I always have a see first on my cell phone, and I see Les crying about shit, and like, to God, you see some of the drama. I'm like, oh man, some things never change. But then you see some of the good times, and like I I totally miss you guys. And so, how many infants could?
I don't know about this. I don't know. So I hope you're not fighting infants, Greg, because that would not be a good thing.
Well, the one thing that I can tell you is that actually the kid's a sponsored driver now, by all sorts of he was sponsored by a bunch of different companies, and he was like 13 or 14, and he was a good racer. We were racing toy cars. You know what I mean? Like, if people take that shit way too seriously. And no matter what you do, there's people that take it seriously. I'm about team fun. I want to go and have fun. If I win, lose, I break, I don't care. I'm having freaking fun. That's all that matters. And actually, there's a guy I met him. His name is Stormin Norman. We'll talk about him a little later, maybe. And so, so he, the 13, 14-year-old kid, he was good. He was starting to be as fast as we were. I was never one of the fast guys because I didn't care enough. I was just going to have a good time. And so, so he was like, "What does?" He said, "Hey, 3G, I'm gonna start talking smack to you." And I said to him, "All right, just so that you know, you might be flicking match heads at me, and they're gonna go out before they hit me, and I might throw fireballs back at you." And if you get burned, I don't want to hear you crying about it. And so, like, whenever I see him, we talk about the fireballs and the match head thing. And I think that's what the Callahan was talking about. But if not, feel free to like, I don't ever remember beating on any infants. That sounds more like my buddy. What the hell is his name? The guy that grabbed my collar on the driver's stand. Oh,
okay.
Mark. He was a sponsored driver. The guy was a real turd burglar. But
and then we had Amy make a comment here. She said the private school and just learning more about my friends through these videos. So if that's the part of the value that I give people by allowing them to see their friends and hear different things, hey, that's great. That's what I like. So
yeah, I don't talk about the private school thing very often. We're on a school, like we talked about my experience in high school and stuff like that. I don't. Yes. Oh yeah, Smika. God, that guy was a third burglar. I knew it from day one, and he like stole friends from me. Like it was like we were at an RC car track, just having a good time. And I would like take people under my wing and like show them the rock crawling, showing them the drifting, show them the on road, show them the off road, and they'd be like, "So what part of RC do you like? Go and you want to meet some people in that realm?" Because I was friends with everybody. But this Smika guy, like he was just, I am better than everybody. Like Corvette guy. You guys all know a Corvette guy? Like every car has like every car genre. I should do a podcast about car guys. I really think that we should do this sometime. Because like Corvette guy is, I drive a Corvette. It's a status symbol where I could drive my mini truck that has 70 horsepower around a track faster than the guy could drive his Corvette because he's going to spin out, doesn't know how to race, but he has a Corvette. So like it's just, and then like Miata guy and Mustang guy and Porsche guy, like they're all just, oh man, I could go on and on and on. But
and then David over here said 3G is a good egg. So very
true. You have an egg in my name, so like
that is. I just noticed that now. So, well, man. So, what I like to do is when I finish up these podcasts, and I just recently started last week with Garrett, I need to grab my phone because the tool that I have is called Poddex. So, this is really going to open up the door for people to really get to know you and see a different side. So, let me grab this real quick.
Wait, you're going to see more than this side? Hopefully, it's not this side.
No, it's a very interesting tool. And I've used it for a lot of what I do just because it's different questions that aren't really asked and it gets the conversation started in a different direction. And so it's very powerful. So let me pull this up here.
You are good at asking the good questions. We've had some good questions on Facebook, thought provoking, and then pushing it even further, and then pushing it further, and then maybe even further than that. And I love that about you, Scott. I like.
I appreciate that. That's something here. Oh, we got. I don't know. Somebody's trolling on Twitch now. I don't know this guy, but it's very interesting because I was talking to a business coach, and he was talking about the fact that, and that's kind of what I've gone is to do the one question like engagement post. And what he talks about is when somebody answers your question, you want to go back in there with another question to keep that engagement going.
I love
because
that.
It messes with the algorithm with Facebook. And then if you're trying to get your post seen by more people,
I like that too.
You got to do that. It's very weird. So that's why I've done it. But it's very interesting to get the conversation started and really go deep because we've got to use social media for a platform that is something that needs to take place. And so David here said it's a magic 8-ball, isn't it? No. So let me pull up here. We'll do a couple different things. So the first deck I'm going to use is called the Hustle. And let's see here. So the question is, if you had to open up a lemonade stand tomorrow, what would you call your stand?
Whiskey and lemonade.
Well, we are adults here, so we can go that route because there was no stipulation that you're kids. So
people would stop. I guarantee it. I guarantee it, but you can only have two.
Hey, you know what? That may be a business idea, especially in our time that we have right now. So, right in front of your house, let's go open up a lemonade stand. It'd be a good time.
Within 300 yards, so we'll have to go down the street just a little bit. On the main road, that's a good idea. Whiskey and lemonade. I mean,
for me, I'm real big. I talk about let's go or imperfect action. So because it's like I'm just gonna throw stuff in there, you just don't know what it's gonna be. So it's imperfect action lemonade. Here we go.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Let's see here. How do you generate new ideas?
Well, for me, I am my own worst enemy, and I think most people are. I only know what I know. I know a little bit about what I don't know, and then there's this huge, vast amount of knowledge that I don't know what I don't know. So I have to get out of my own head. So for me, it's maybe taking a motorcycle ride. Maybe it's having a couple whiskeys, just to like getting all the stuff, like cleaning out my inhibitions or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know, but just so that you don't have that little voice in the back of your head be like, no, you shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. And I mean, I have new ideas all the time. Actually, this is my most recent. Anybody that can see this, and we're going to start marketing and producing these, as a wrench ring. And there's going to be a couple different styles. One of them's even going to be a wedding band. My good friend Justin Flower from Sunflower Gem and Jewelries. He's a super cool dude. He's been a friend of mine. He has the Punisher vet. It's a 84 Corvette with like 800 horsepower. The turbo is like, see the size of my head. Let's see if I can do this. So the turbo is about this big. I think it's a 78 millimeter, 86 millimeter turbo, running factory rear suspension, factory rear differential, and a 30 almost 40-year-old car. You know what I mean? And so just a super cool dude. So things just come to me. It's just thinking about what you really have to see if ideas are only ideas until you put it into action. And once you start developing the business model canvas for any of you guys that are business people, if you want to see if your business or your idea is marketable, develop a business model canvas. If you have any questions about that, you can come talk to me. I'm by no means an expert, but if you do, anybody that is interested in starting a business, go talk to the SCORE office. And if you're in Colorado Springs, ask for Stephen Imke, an amazing mentor of mine. Super cool dude. He rides motorcycles. He's from Massachusetts. He actually lives in Monument. He came down and brought me a whole bunch of Thanksgiving food. Actually, and what I did, one of my crazy ideas was to make Thanksgiving wraps with my leftover, Thanksgiving. So I made 8 of them, and they're freaking amazing. You put them in the freezer, put them in my pull them out, put them in the cast iron skillet for 10 or 15 minutes, and man, it is so good. Such a great way to have like leftover Thanksgiving food. And so even my roommate ate 2 of them. He's like, oh man, can I get another one of those Thanksgiving wraps? He's like, man, they're tasty. Put some cranberry sauce. It had, and it's just, ideas come to you. Just try it. Like you're your own worst enemy. If you don't do it, you don't put any of this into action. I always had crazy ideas. You can ask my family, and they were never, accepting of that. They never thought that it was, oh, that's a good idea. Even when I talked about the Sam's Club that we have here in town, a $7 million building, I was talking to my sister about it. Her husband and her 2 kids were in the car. And I was telling her about it, like, when I was going home for Christmas or home for summer, not this past summer, but the summer before. And she's like, cool. And then went about their day. And that like, wow, $7 million building. How are you going to do that? Tell me how you're going to make that happen, Greg. And she's just like, whatever. And like, so that's part of the cobwebs in my head that like, I can't be successful. You know what I mean? Like the wrench ring. Is it going to make me millions of dollars? Probably not. But it could make me, 100,000, maybe it makes me and Flower and the marketing person 100,000 a piece next year. Who knows? I don't know. But and I have the other idea is tie-dyeing the Colorado flag on a t-shirt. Even making masks now. You know what I mean? And so like people in Colorado love tie-dye, and they love the flag. So why not do that? And so I've tried a couple times, and it's just follow it. Follow your dreams. And that's really what it comes down to. I have, and I mean, do I live in $1 million house? Do I have a big $100,000 cars? No. Do I love my life? Absolutely. You know what I mean? I do what I want when I want. And I'm not tied down. And so had a big financial windfall from the Better Business Bureau event that I went to. Bought a car from somebody I met there, It had 93 miles on it, an '04 Subaru. Made thousands of dollars on that deal. It was awesome. So for those of you that know, I hurt my foot. I haven't been able to work or do anything. I've been able to live off that for the last few months, and I'm still got 4 or 5 grand left from that deal. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think for me, it's really I'll think about crazy ideas, and then I'll talk to people just to kind of figure it out. Because the interesting thing is, so working on building a life coaching practice, and what really started for me was my divorce, and so wanted to focus on divorce gentlemen. And then it's very funny because I saw the Jasper Axelrad, and she's like, you know what? Why not look at working with females that have gone through a divorce? Because the day before, my mom asked me, she's like, why don't you look at working with females that have gone through a divorce? So I was like, I don't know. And then Jasper brought it up, and she's like, you know what? You bring a very neutral stance. You bring in a non-judgmental perspective and allow people to have the conversation, have what they need to grow. And so I was like, okay, well, here's the pivot just from talking to people and what people bring up. And so that's for where I'm at is I've adjusted to go now, opened up to both working with male and female that have gone through the divorce. But it would not have happened without somebody asking me the question and then somebody giving the validation of, hey, this is what you do, this is what you bring. Okay, cool, let's go.
it's so true. And Jasper and I have been friends for a few months now, and it's like she's like my little sister. She needs something, I'm there for. If I need something, she helps me. Just a great person. So I'll give you Axelrad. You get a shout out. You get an atta girl. And she was also on 1 million cups last week. So that was super cool. She called me up that morning asking, like, so what do I talk about? What do I do? She was like an hour before, and she's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to talk about. So it was awesome. Just gave her a little advice. I've done it. For those of you that have seen me at 1 million cups, it's the first year we were back at the Catalyst campus. And if you guys want to laugh, I'm sure it's still on YouTube. Look up Auto Shop Vocational on 1 million cups. And I was just totally 3G. Because with me, there's Greg, who is the empathetic social worker. And then there's 3G, the ball-busting, snarky masshole. And then there's another person, but that's not for your ears. And so, and I was totally 3G. And there's some feminists in the crowd that were just like, wow, you're a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal. And you guys can get Scott. You know me well enough to know I'm a very crass person. I don't care if people like me. If you don't like me, there's the door. That's a really good way to live. I've got a really dry sense of humor. I don't care if people like me, and that's just the way it is. If you don't like me, I don't care. There are some people that yes, I will kind of cater to and try to have a more of a filter around, but I don't like doing that either. You know what I mean? But you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So.
Well, that's unique too, because we have to understand that if you're not showing up as your solid true self and you're showing up as your pseudo self, people can sense that. And so I'm big. I tell people, I'm like, you're either going to love me or you're going to hate me. There's no in between. Because what really drove that point was I was reading a book, The Buddha and the Badass, and Basheen, who wrote the book, had talked about if you're fearful to repel the few, you're going to miss out on attracting the many. And so think about in the business world, how many people show up as their pseudo self, they're not being their true solid self, and what does that do to them as an individual by trying to appease everybody?
It's true. So what this reminds me of a conversation I had with my mentor, Steve Imke from the SCORE office. Like I said, if you want a business mentor, go talk to the SCORE office and ask for Steve. He's the best one. I promise you. Anyway, so what do you like the first couple times we talked, he's like, be yourself, sometimes I have to filter myself because I can be very crass, just a little bit of a filter, just not say some of the things I would say if I was out having a drink versus at a business meeting. So it's just, and I still be my pseudo, don't be my pseudo self. I'm still myself. Just maybe I watered down a little bit because you got to do that sometimes. And so what the conversation that I remember vividly from him is that when you're yourself, you may get 50% of people to love you 100%. And if you kind of water yourself down and you are not, like you're not you're just trying to get everybody to like you and kind of being the social butterfly and kind of being fake, you'll get 80% of people to like you 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So I can vouch that the first way is the best way, because I have people that just donate money to my school every month. Why? Because they believe in me. If I was fake and I was only, they only like me 80%, I wouldn't have them helping me. And
True.
and so if you get people to follow you 100%, they will give you what you ask for. And those of you that know me, I'm not a selfish person. I drive a 1989 Mitsubishi Mighty Max. My motor, nothing I own is more than a couple grand. So it's not like I'm getting rich off people, because I have. And that's actually when the last time I spoke at 1 Million Cups, a guy asked me how am I using my clout in the community to make money. And at first I was like, well, I don't really use my fame, not fame, but the reputation that I've built in the community to do that. And I realized that I developed that crowdfunding, the Auto Shop Value Club, which quickly is a membership referral based club where I have members who pay monthly or annual dues, and partners who are small local businesses that give my members a discount on their services. Very similar to the entertainment book from when we were growing up. And so I have people that just want to give, that whole thing started because I had a woman, Jackie Gonzalez from A&B Bank. She was like, how do I support you, Greg? We were at a Power Connectors meeting years ago. And she's like, how do I support you? I'm like, I don't know, give me an attaboy, pat me on the back. I don't know. I didn't know that she wanted to support me financially. Because that's something that I'll support people with things that I have if you need some time or something that I have, but I've never had the money to give. And so that's another thing that Steve and I talk about, is that people want to give time, money, or things. And so I like giving my time to people. I like giving my things to people, but I don't have money to give to people. And that's just because that's my own hang up around money. It's a mindset that it's not abundance. There's the abundance versus limiting mindset. And that's something that I'm working through personally, to realize that, hey, the more money that I make, the more people I can help. It's not me being greedy. A year ago, it would have been me being greedy. And I would have said, if I made $100,000 this year, I was greedy. But it's not me being greedy. It's me being able to help more people. So that's a mindset that I've changed over the last year. And it really has been completely eye-opening. And, you get people that want to help you. There's some people that want to take advantage of you too. You know what I mean? I had a total narcissist living in my house that I couldn't get him to leave. The last 3 months he lived here, he wouldn't pay rent, and he blamed me. Anything that he wanted to do, he would make up an excuse why he could do it. If he could justify doing it to me, screwing me over in thousands of ways. I just found out another one this past weekend. I was talking to somebody about another person that I almost let move into my house too. God, I don't know. I don't know if they're just attracted to me. They seem to be coming into my universe, but also it also attracts great people. And I've said this many times in the last year or so, that over the last couple of years, where I feel like good people are just coming into my circle. That's a really, really amazing thing. So when you do good things for people, and you are genuine, and you are who you are, good people and people that you attract just come into you. There's you guys know Bob Proctor and Dolly Sina. She talks a lot about that. And I have, you see meth users on the street. They're all tweaking, and I want to learn more about that. I don't get it. I have no understanding of it. And then one came into my life because I talked about it. I manifested it, and I was just like, wow, got to get that person out of my life. Steer clear of those motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Keep them as far away as possible until they're off their drugs. Whenever they're off their drugs, maybe give them a chance. Maybe not. I don't know. But because it's not, and they'll screw you over as much as they can, and then you take that personally. And that's one of the 4 agreements: is don't take things personally. It's the drug. It's not them. They're not doing it to you. It's the drug that's doing it to you. So hate the drug.
Yeah.
I know it kind of went way off on a tangent there, but yeah, well,
It's all good. You know what? That's kind of how when I have conversations with people and I do my live streams, there's really no rhyme or reason. It's just let the conversation flow. Because ultimately, if I was to say this is what we're going to talk about, this is what we're not going to talk about, if I cut that off where maybe it's something that you're passionate about, but then I'm like, no, we're not talking about this, you could say something that could be that one nugget somebody needs to hear that's going to make that change for them.
it's true.
And so that's why I look at with the live stream, with the podcast, with the different platforms that I'm taking advantage of, I want people to show up and be true to themselves because I don't know who we may be able to go impact by doing this. And so if we can go change one life, that's a beautiful thing. But I'm not going to cut that off because you don't know what somebody needs. And so it's like, no, show up. And if people don't like it, then they kind of have to look and say, okay, why don't I like this? And what lens am I looking at life through? So it's, yeah, that's the biggest thing. And that's why we were talking before, or when we were looking at having you come on, you're like, I've changed a little bit. I was like, man, come on, be yourself. We'll be good. So I've got one more question here. And so we may go down another tangent. I don't know. Do the simple things become complexities when we try to obtain perfection?
Well, there is no such thing as perfect. I mean, some of us are pretty close, but just kidding. Closer than others, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so the simple things. So do the simple things become what? Can you just
complexities if we try to obtain perfection?
Anytime you strive for perfection, I think it's going to become complex. You know, in a perfect world, you know, there wouldn't be anything complex. Everything would just be, you know, in a utopian society. But you know, like if you can drive yourself crazy over trying to become perfect, you know, I don't think I'm perfect at anything. You know, I mean, I'm a pretty good technician.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm a good friend to most people, and to people that don't like me, there's probably a reason why. Or if I don't like somebody, there's probably a reason. I've given you every chance and every opportunity, and if I don't like you, then there's probably not a problem with me. But hey, maybe there is. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not perfect, and I know. So I would say that there's, you know, I would agree that you can make it complex if you are striving for perfection. Because, like, let's say I wanted to perfectly cut my beard every time, and it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? I like the way it looks now. I mean, it looks pretty good, but you know. But is it perfect? Absolutely not. I got these grays coming in over here, but like it is what it is. You know, I don't think striving for perfection is a utopian type of mindset, and there's nothing that's perfect. You know, nothing is ever perfect, and everything's perfect at the same time too. Like if you see that nothing is perfect, you know, like you're like, well, let's try to make it perfect. And then like nothing is, you know, everything is imperfect and perfect at the same time. That's the way that I try to look at it, is that like if there's something wrong, you know, like let's say I'm a little bit overweight, you know, probably could lose 30 or 40 pounds, and I could be like, well, you know, that's not perfect, and I could get all down on myself for not being perfect, and then that just puts you in a bad mindset. But it's also perfect the way it is, you know. If I want it, I'll go after it. You know what I mean? I'll stop eating a bowl of ice cream every night. You know what I mean? Not gonna happen.
I look at this question, and honestly, if you think about people that are perfectionists, think about how long it takes them to get to the end point. So if you are working on something simple and you're like, I need this perfect, you're going to find something that's going to stick out and be like, nope, this isn't perfect. We got to go back to point A and start all over again. So if it's a simple thing and you're trying to obtain perfection, it's going to be a complexity because you're going to find something. And like you said, nothing's perfect. But it's also, there is a mindset too. It depends on how you're looking at stuff. So yeah, it's very unique.
And I think that everything is perfect the way it is. You know what I mean? You have to look at it that way. And because if it's not, then you're like, then nothing is perfect at the same time. You know, and so I think people that strive for perfection are trying to grasp for. They're like, trying to climb to the moon. With Rapunzel's hair. So you're trying to grasp for something that's intangible. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever perfect, but everything is perfect. People aren't. Maybe, I don't know. This is a very thought-provoking question you got me on here, Scott. I think I've backpedaled a couple times, but I'm okay with that. And so, your perfection is something that you can hope for and work towards, but never attain. That's what So somebody recently asked me. My friend Christine Aguilar asked me recently about what is the definition of hope, and I said, hope is for things that you don't have control over. I could hope that I make $1 million in the next 10 years. I don't want to say that. I can hope that you make $1 million in the next 10 years, but I would never say that about me. Although I may not even say it about you because I could always help you, attain that. So, so that for me, that really is about where it's at. So, hope, and you can hope for perfection. That can stand, and I will stand by. But to expect it, that does not sound like something that I would want to do.
That's it. Yeah, it's one of these questions. I gotta grab my charger real quick. So,
Daniel asks, perfection is grounded in fear or insecurity or lack of trust in the face of insecurity. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know much about perfection. I really don't. Never really thought about it because it's not something that I've tried to attain. And I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I don't think anybody is ever perfect at everything. But everything is perfect. You know what I mean? That's like I said, something I hope for but never expect, I guess.
Well, that's the thing too. Like you said, it's stuff outside of your control. So this is the unique thing. So it's talking like goals and whatever. But the fact that somebody's like, well, I want 2 new clients this week. Can you control how many new clients you're going to bring in? You can't control what people are going to do, what they think, how they're feeling, but you can control how many people you reach out to see if they're interested in your services. So that's one of those things that, oh man, like when you start talking about this stuff and you start looking at things differently, it can rattle you sometimes because it goes into the belief, the paradigm. So and then Danielle said, if it pulls up here, there we go. Everything is imperfectly perfect. So it's kind of like what you were trying to say, Greg. Danielle's brought this into a very condensed sentence here.
Yeah, and so I really see it that, you can hope for things and expect things, but they're different. And there's something else I was going to one thing I wanted to touch on, but we were talking about this earlier about reading. I don't like to read. But I like to read things that I'm interested in. So personal development, automotive, people that, I'll read things that I'm interested in, like a book about crowdfunding. I read a book about crowdfunding when I was trying to get the school together. That's when I developed my own form, and so it really is, my family and teachers will tell you that I hate reading because it goes back to the memorization of tasks, reading and spelling, you have to memorize these things. And I was always taught that I'm not good. I'm not smart because I can't regurgitate these things. And so, but now I like to read, and I usually when I wake up, I spend a half an hour to an hour reading. And I just read Beanie Man's book. I don't know if you guys ever read that. Happiness. What's it called?
Happiness Matters, I believe, is
awesome book, awesome person.
Titled.
Yeah, awesome book, awesome person. I actually spoke about her earlier today. If you guys don't know Beanie, check her out sometime. Just a cool cat. And so that's really what it comes down to. Is just you surround yourself with awesome people and you be awesome. So that's why I say we are awesome.
Man, so I think, man, this conversation, it's been a great conversation. So I want to thank you, Greg, for coming on. I know we talked about it a while back, and then just things go and whatnot, and then got connected last week at the big meeting with the small business focus and whatnot. And so for yourself, when you look at the conversation that we had, was there any big takeaway that you took away from the conversation? And then what would be one thing that you would pass on advice-wise through your experience to the listeners that listen to the podcast or watch the live stream on replay? And then if people want to get in contact with you, how do they go about to contact and make connection with you?
All right, well, first I'm going to ask anybody that's still watching, if you got any takeaways from me, I'd love to know what they are. So please comment about that, because I was the interviewee, so I'm doing a lot of the talking. So for me to take away stuff from what I've talked about is different, and I'd like to see what you guys are taking away. So please comment. And what I've taken away is that, like, everybody's experience is different, and I've known this, and, we all see things in a different light. And that just becomes more and more prevalent as life goes on. I totally see that our education system needs to change. And I think what really has come to light for me is that, like, most of people see that. And I'm glad to have this conversation and be able to explain that the one industry that hasn't changed at all is education. It hasn't developed with our society. I mean, it's been the same way since the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it is. Like, everything has changed since then. The way people communicate has changed since then. Why are we still educating people the same way? So that, to me, is the most important part. So then the big takeaway is that, you can do what I'd like to give out is that you can do whatever you want in life. You got to figure out what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about cars and teaching and helping people. As a Rotarian, like, that's what we do. I always knew that I had when I joined Rotary a year and a half ago or whatever it is. I always knew that I had that in me, but I didn't know that we had a home. That really is a big part of it. So to me, it's just like following your dreams. You want to do something, go after it. It's taken me 10 years to become an auto shop teacher. And the first time that I did it, that first class that I did it, I like fist pumped myself, because I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. I love doing this, and I'm helping people, and this is just fucking awesome. It took me forever. And what I can tell you is that the first graduation, it wasn't the graduation from my program, but the kid was graduating from a charter school. I have the video. I actually watched it today. And he was graduating from his school. There was about 20 or 25 graduates. It was a January graduation. And they asked all the kids all these questions. And they asked him, what are you going to do after graduation? And he's like, well, I wasn't even sure I was going to graduate. I was talking to the principal, Miss MC, who was the principal of, at that time, was Life Skills High School. Now it's Eastlake High School. And MC doesn't work there, isn't there anymore. So he was like, well, she said to him, go take this automotive class and see where you're at afterwards. So he did. So he's like, I did. I took the class. I'm very, I feel very confident about my abilities in automotive. Greg even found me a job. And all this happened, if you guys have ever been to the Stargazer Theater, super cool place. And so I was sitting there blubbering like a schoolgirl, like I had tears coming down my eyes. And, like, I've had tears of joy before. Have you ever watched the movie Rudy? When the other players are carrying him off the field, and the father's like, and, like, just have tears. But I had never had tears of joy for myself before, and I was like a blubbering schoolgirl. You know what I mean? Like, it was like the culmination of everything that I wanted, and, like, just having that and knowing that that's possible is truly amazing. Like, I had never experienced that emotion before, and, like, I'm a big 6 foot, 280 pound dude. I don't cry a lot. You know what I mean? Although society says I shouldn't cry a lot, maybe I do. I don't know. But I was I was like a freaking schoolgirl blubbering in the middle of this huge auditorium, and my buddy's girlfriend came up to me and was like, "Greg, is everything okay?" And I'm like, tears of joy, everything's fine, and like just literally like a freaking schoolgirl, you know what I mean, like, or schoolboy. I mean, I don't got to be politically correct, like a school kid, whatever.
You're just a little kid at the time, experiencing the emotions.
Yes, like a little school child. I won't say schoolgirl anymore tonight. And so so I literally just followed my dream to be exactly who I wanted to be, and I experienced this uncontrollable emotion that like I'm in control of my emotions 99.9% of the time, but like I couldn't contain myself in front of all these people that like some of them knew me, some of them didn't, but they knew me as the auto shop teacher guy, but like, and they're like, oh wow, that's really moving, huh? I'm just like, more than you know, because it is a moving thing when the kids are graduating, they're moving on and stuff like that, and it's moving for them. But like for me, it was personal. It was like the culmination of years, like ever from college all the way through the social work and being an automotive technician was pretty miserable. I can tell you some stories about that. That was not a delightful time in life, and then so following my dream and being who I am today is exactly what I love it. If you want to go and become a doctor, go and become a doctor. If 5 years into it, you don't want to do it anymore, go find something else. You're not stuck into anything. You can make money however you want. Like you hear about all these restaurants closing. Actually, I was talking to Jasper a little bit about this. If she's still on, this is what we're going to talk about soon. I have a chef friend who's not working any right now, and he has a whole plan for a food truck. But what I see is, yes, if you plant the food truck at one spot, you can have, people come to you.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my idea, coining it right now. So you go and have dinner parties, like you have a 6, 7, 8, and 9 o'clock sitting. So you go and drive the truck to one spot. Maybe they even come and bring you out their dishes, so you don't even have to use your dishes. They bring them out to you, and then you serve them up, and then you bring them in, then you drive to the next spot. So maybe it's $50 a person. And how many people can we have in one spot now? 10. So 10.
Well, if you're at home, maybe you just go the home route.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like do it at home. Like have dinner parties.
Yeah.
Have 10 people or however many people you can fit around your dining room table. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then so it's like $50 a person. So you have 8 people. That's $400 for that hour. $400 for the next hour, $400 for the next hour. So you do it for 3 days or three hours. Maybe start at 5 and go to 9. That's for 5 hours. Or like maybe you start with some of the golden agers getting their what do they call that? The early bird special at 5 o'clock. Maybe you could make that a little bit cheaper. But so like that's just the way that my brain thinks, is that like if you're out of work and you have a skill, how can you market that to be something that'll work in what the climate that we have now?
True.
And so to me, that's like, if you're a bartender, like you go and people have dinner parties. People are still getting together. You know what I mean? And facilitating that, which is like, because people used to go out and eat in big groups. They can't do that right now and go out and do it. So you bring the stuff to them. You know what I mean? So that to me is really what it's about. And then if you're a bartender, maybe you go to these dinner parties and you bring whatever booze you need or get what people want first, and then then you make it, and then everybody gives you $50 at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Because people still have money. You know what I mean? It's not. They make it sound like everybody's scrounging around for money. Yes, there are people that are scrounging around for money, and if you need help with that, let me know. I've always got these ideas of ways that you can make money. You know what I mean? So just like the food trucks and the restaurants.
Yep. No, that's perfect though, and that's the whole collaboration piece and working with people and helping them out. But I think it's also the fact that if you're at a point, it's not weakness reaching out and asking for help. To stay strong, and Les Brown actually had stated this, that to stay strong, you have to ask for help. But we have this connotation that if I reach out and ask for help, it's a sign of weakness. And so that's got to be a change of a belief system, of a thought that needs to change. But I think it's an individual effort. So to have that change take place, it's you as an individual working on yourself, changing your mindset, changing how you see things, changing how you view life.
That's so true because people often ask me for my time, or people ask you for your money, or people ask you for your things, and I have time and I have things. So I often get asked for the car part art, for a silent auction. Yeah, sure, here you go, enjoy it. Just
Yep.
give me an attaboy on Facebook or give me an Instagram attaboy. Tag me on something and be like, hey, look at thanks Auto Shop Vocational for giving us this piece or whatever. Give me nothing, and I probably won't give you anything. I'm not asking for any financial return, but give me a little something that let me know that you appreciate that I gave you this, and I'll do it again next time, and I'll bend over backwards for you. But don't. But if you don't give me any kind of attaboy or recognition or anything, then I'm probably not going to do it again because I'm helping you, but you got to help me. I'm not even asking for any finance. You know what I mean? And so when people ask me for my money financially, I'm uncomfortable because I don't have that to give. So I am uncomfortable asking people for money. That's why my crowdfunding isn't as popular as it could be. And so, because I don't ask, I can ask for like Scott, if I needed some of your time, or if I needed somebody to help me move, you know what I mean? Because I help people move all the time. So then I would ask you for that because I'm comfortable because that's something that I'm willing to give. But when people ask me for money, I'm uncomfortable because I don't have that to give yet. I currently don't have that to give. In the future, I will, but I currently don't have it. Is the way that I look at it. If you say I'm not good at asking for things, be like, up until this point in life, I am not good at asking for things. It's just a muscle. You got to flex it. And so asking for help, I call my mentor probably once or twice a week, and just ask him for advice. And he loves giving it to me. He's a SCORE mentor for those that know the SCORE program. He's been a SCORE mentor for close to 20 years, and I'm the only one that he's invited to his house for dinner.
That's a good thing. That shows the relationship. That shows just that connection piece and whatnot. So it's powerful.
So that's what I can do. That's what I can say is that if you don't ask for help, just like I talk to people, I'm an avid motorcyclist. If you don't wear a helmet, you got nothing to protect. If you don't ask for help, you have no reason for help.
True.
So you gotta ask for it. And what's the worst people are gonna say? No. And if they don't like you for asking, that's not something I want to be friends with anyway. Because my friends ask me for things all the time, and sometimes I say no, I can't help you today. Well, you can ask me again tomorrow, but the answer is probably gonna be the same. But I know I can't help you today. But if you someday there may be the time where I can help you. So that's really what it comes down to is ask. You need something, ask people. Come talk to me or Scott if you don't know who to ask. Because I don't know, I can help you with your car and maybe some entrepreneurial stuff. I don't know much about that yet. But it's a muscle that I've been exercising, And so, because I didn't grow up in that environment of the entrepreneur. Like I said, my father worked the same job 40 years. So me being a businessman is like foreign to me. But now I get more and more you get those creative juices flowing. And, people come to you and be like, hey, my business is struggling. What can I do? Yeah. All right, we'll try this and this. I don't know if it's going to work. It's not my business, but that's what I think, So.
Yep. Well, and I think that the other thing that we have to be mindful on that too is when people are asking for your advice, we got to be very careful. So it's more of, okay, let's sit down and have a discussion. Let me ask you questions. Give a different perspective outside from where you're at. Because if somebody takes your advice and it does not work out, they're going to come back at you and be very angry. So it's one of those things. It's a catch-22. Like they ask for advice and you give it, but if it doesn't work out, they come back and they're like, I'm mad at you. Like what you told me didn't work out. So it's for them. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Let me ask questions.
And I'll say, would you rather just be doing nothing and have it not work out, or having tried this and learned? There's going to be a takeaway from everything. There's going to be a silver lining. You're going to meet people. You're going to learn something. So if you came to me and said, hey, your advice didn't work, screw you, I'd be like, did you pay me? Did you pay me for this advice? No. Yeah. Then you got what you pay for, dickhead. You know what I mean? Don't come back and come crying to me. I'm not making you do anything. I'm not your boss. I'm not telling you have to do this. So if you come back at me being like, oh, your advice didn't work, be like, Well, you got what you paid for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're either going to win or you're going to lose. And if you lose, at least you tried. You don't take YouTube. You got to take the bat off your shoulder. And if you take my advice and you won, hey, great. I'm never going to see any returns from that because you're probably not going to give me anything. But you utilize my brain. You know what I mean? And so you're either going to win or you're going to lose. And those are the two options. I mean, you could kind of come out in the middle, but I don't think that happens very often. Maybe it does. I don't know. But so go and try my advice. If it works, great. Profit off of my idea. Awesome. And I'm happy to give it to you. Take me out for dinner, maybe. That's a good way to go. A good appreciation. And I can eat. I don't like eating crappy food, so we're gonna go somewhere. Anyways, so like that's what I said to the people. If you come back to me and you're like, I didn't make you take my advice. You know what I mean? If you come back and tell me, be like the scenario you were saying is that, oh, you come back and your advice didn't work, blah blah blah. Did you learn something? Good. I took people's advice many times. Did it work out for me? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Am I a rich man who is, has hit the mother load on something? Not yet, but that's, it's going to happen. It's for those of you that know me, that's so one of these things is going to work out for me.
Yeah.
So, and like I lead a good life. I fix people's cars. It's not a problem for me, which is a very grateful for that. I have the ability to help. I can fund my life by working a day or two or a week. But I also don't have a lot of overhead. Like I don't live in an expensive house. I don't have any car payments. Everything that I have, I own. I don't pay for anything. Still paying on my education, but that's still a little bit. And so, I turned 40 in May, for those of you that didn't know. Yay. 40 is the new 25, just so we're all clear. And I made the commitment to, by the time I turned 41, to pay off $12,000 in credit card debt. I had that since college. Like a ball and chain rolling behind me everywhere I went. Be like, I want to go buy a new jacket. I need a new jacket. Oh man, if I buy this $500 jacket that I really, really want, but I have $12,000 in credit card debt. So what really pushed me was I want this motorcycle. It's a very unique. Can't find it. You can find this deal anywhere. It's a guy, my buddy Stormin Norman. Oh, that's a long conversation. Well, the next podcast, the one we do where there's no real, no real topic. We'll talk about him. But anyways, so like I want to buy this motorcycle, and there's no way I could justify buying it with this credit card debt. So I made the commitment by the time I was 41 to have it paid off, and that was in May of 2020. And in October of 2020, it was gone.
Congratulations.
I thank you. And I sold a motorcycle. I had 3 running motorcycles. Nobody needs 3 running motorcycles. I mean, nobody needs a motorcycle anyways, but maybe anyways, we that could be a whole other conversation. I do. I feel like I need to have that in my life. If I don't have some kind of automotive, they call it wide open throttle therapy, kind of like how automotive is more than just a trade. And so I sold the motorcycle, sold my truck, sold some stocks that I didn't even know I freaking had. And, then I had like $1,200 left after all that stuff. And every time I got like a $500 payment for working on somebody's car, $250, or I got, I would do something and another, like half of it would go to the whatever I needed to make sure my bills are paid. But all the other money was just gone. I didn't even, wasn't eating out much. I wasn't spending money on food. Like I eat my normal, eat my normal, breakfast and, stuff like that. But for me, it's about setting up systems where like, as soon as you get something, do what you got to do with it, So now I've made the commitment to buy this car from a friend of mine, and I'm selling it, and I'm not paying any money out of my pocket. I'm selling stuff to buy it because I have a bunch of cars and stuff that I can sell to buy the car.
Yeah.
So it's all about, you want things in life. Everybody wants something, I've been thinking about settling down and finding a good woman. And so today, actually, I started a document to write down exactly what I'm looking for. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you're never going to find it.
True.
Right?
Oh, that's true.
So my friend Emerald Sinclair, the love coach, she told me this like 2 years ago. I was like, yeah, whatever, it'll just fall into my lap, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And has it fallen into my lap in the last 30, 25 years? You know what I mean? I mean, some things have, but, and so, but not what I'm looking for. So you have to define what you want in life. Like that's
Yep.
the theory behind the vision board. You know what I mean? And the theory behind me paying off my credit cards. I have to know. You have to set a goal and accomplish it. If you don't, like, let's say if I didn't pay off the 12 grand in the year, I would have been a hell of a lot freaking closer than if I didn't set the goal. And you can't beat yourself up about not hitting the goal. Then you just set another goal. You know what I mean? If you beat yourself up over, you're like, oh man, I didn't do this. I said I was going to do it, but am I closer than I was if I didn't set the goal? Hell yeah, you are. So that's a big part of it, is that set goals in life. My goal is to become an auto shop teacher. I always thought I was going to be able to a public school, but I don't want to work for somebody else. And I love it. So.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the different ways to make contact with you?
So you can always call me between the hours of 8 a.m. and probably midnight at 719-661-1663. A lot of sixes and ones and threes. You can email me personally at 3gsheldon@gmail.com. Facebook is Gregg Sheldon. You can also find I will and so then you can also look on Instagram. It's 3G Sheldon, and then the school has auto shop _vocational. Car part art is also on Instagram. So if you want to see some of the cool stuff that we make, the ring hasn't made it on there yet because I don't really know how to market it. And so if you guys have any marketing advice, then go that way. But just talk to Scott, and I'm around. See me at 1 Million Cups and all these other cool places. So, well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate your time and everybody who's viewing. I can't see who's viewing, so hopefully.
Yeah, we've had a pretty consistent number of people watching. So, and then Danielle made the last comment. I guess she had signed off. She said, "Great job, guys. Until next time, be well." So, Danielle, thank you for your support. But ultimately, what I'll do is I'll grab that information. I'll go back in the video, throw it in the comments for your connection piece. Anybody that wants to reach out. But ultimately, for people that are taking a look at the live stream, that's listening to the podcast, ultimately, it's just sharing experiences of other people, helping students make the most informed decision instead of trying to put them in a box, and just to make our community stronger and help students to really thrive and get to who they really are meant to be. So, but no, yeah, Greg, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you jumping on here. Great conversation. This is the longest, I think, interview that I've done, but we did the live stream with Jasper and the fine dining that she did. That was about 3.5 hours. But just like the one-on-one type interview, I think this is the longest that I've had.
I don't know if I could handle Jasper for 3.5 hours. That's a lot.
No, she was interacting with other people and whatnot. So,
but yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it was great. I guess the big takeaway is that we need to revamp our education system and really help kids find what they want to do early enough where, they're not all the way through high school where they're trying to figure it out. And the last thing that I'm going to tell you, and that I can tell everybody, is I agree with the fact that college isn't for everybody. If you know what you want to do, what career you want, and it requires a college education, then go to college. Don't go to college because, hey, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I did, and it's kind of worked out for me because I knew that I wanted to help people. And psychology is like, am I using my degree now? Yeah, maybe not. Some people would say yes, some people would say no. But as a teacher, I think that we're all counselors, but so unless you really know what you want to do, I would say just kind of go and try out a couple different jobs after high school. See if it's something you like to do. Just go. If you think you want to be a veterinarian, go work as a the person that takes all the secretary at a vet. You know what I mean? Go see if that's something that you like to do, because that's an awesome job. I think working with animals is awesome, and so that's a lot of people love that. So like if you want to be an automotive technician, go work for Jiffy Lube for a week or two, and you don't really need to go to automotive tech school to do that. Just kind of follow it and keep learning on your own. You don't need to go to tech school to become an automotive technician, but you can come to my school and be accelerated. But so we'll talk. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody.
It's all good. Yeah. No, but other than that, I'll catch everybody next week. I don't know if I have a guest on with me. It might be myself, so we'll find out next week. So other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
I'd be happy to come on anytime you want, buddy.
Yeah, no, if I have to, I'll reach out. So
Thanks, Scott. See you later, everybody. See you next time. Yep.